It pains me a lot that we were compelled to get genocided so the world could see our plight. But remember, Gaza will be free, Palestine will be free, and in the end we'll have a genocide museum. And all of you who have been silent will be in there. And history, and our stories, and our living stories, because I'm living a story at the moment, we will haunt you and shame you forever. For 77 years, since 1948, people have been bleeding to death in Gaza, the West Bank, across occupied Palestine. The world never cared. The world is now listening to our voices and is turning an eye to what our pain is like. After what? At what expense? At the expense of 70,000 people killed, at the expense of more than 110,000 people injured, at the expense of the destruction of more than 85% of the Strip. Doctors murdered, journalists killed.
You've seen us killed in every possible way. We've been immolated, incinerated, dismembered, and disemboweled.
When it comes to journalists, because I was a journalist in Gaza, Israel has terrified my family, has planted terror and panic within my family, because journalism for Israel was a crime and it can punish whomever it wants.
We have been let down by the international community, particularly the international media organizations. Even the press vests we're wearing right now mark us as a target. They do not protect us at all. Maybe if we were Ukrainians or of any other citizenship with blonde hair and blue eyes, the world would rage and rant for us.
We saw you during the Ukraine-Russian conflict.
Is Vladimir Putin a war criminal?
Yes.
Yes.
What I've seen already amounts to war crimes, and I think it's very important that he's held to account.
And we thought that the international laws would care, but you've simply failed.
I think it's unwise for politicians to stand on stages like this or to sit in television studios and pronounce day by day which acts may or may not be in accordance with international law. I think it's not the role of politicians.
How they can live with themselves in that hypocritical and sycophantic way.
But because we are Palestinians, we have only one right, which is to die and be maimed.
I made that speech because I was a witness, and I made it just to tell them, do you view us as fellow human beings, or you view us as the Israelis view us as subhumans? And since that time, dozens of journalists have been killed. One of them is Mohammed al-Khaldi, and Mohammed al-Khaldi was such a nice guy who dreamt to be a gamer. He never wanted to cover a war, to cover a genocide and the killing of his own people. So most of the journalists that you're seeing right now in Gaza, they had entirely different dreams. I would have been a football reporter or commentator because that's how I learned English, from football. But then everything was destroyed. My dreams were smashed because of Israel and the ongoing genocidal campaign. So I received threats, many threats. And at that time, my family was always worried about me. People were very worried about me, concerned about my safety, because I was very vocal on exposing Israel's war crimes. So I was always on the radar. An attack list and a target list. Those death incitements grew, and my family was aware of that, and that's why I departed. But since I was evacuated from Gaza, I still live the nightmares. The nightmares never leave me. They shatter my heart every single day. Whenever I hear an airplane, I get very, very terrified. Most of the nights I can't sleep because I feel like the place where I am will be bombed. Every building that I visit, the second thought that would come to me is that it will be bombed and I will see it one day in ruins. Basically an adult as people see me, but I've never lived a childhood in my life. And that is something I know I will never recover from. The starvation, which was the hardest part for me because I was always someone who was struggling with a weak immune system. You are dreaming of a piece of bread, a single bite of food, but you can't. So instead, you would go to your bed and scroll through the food images just to distract yourself from hunger and persuade yourself that one day the food that you're seeing on the screens, that one day you will have them. The other thing about the starvation was when you were desperate to get cat's meat can, and that's all what you would have a day. So you have to sit with all your family to eat cat's meat. That was for me very devastating. It is still deeply, deeply traumatizing me. I never felt human at that time, because imagine drinking the water which is coming directly from the sewage. That was something I would never ever forget in my life. And I was dreaming, literally dreaming every single day of one strawberry, some oranges, one egg, meat, something. That was for me fantasy that I couldn't get at all. The children who were throwing food in the sand and were eating the sand because they were starved. And the children who had no clothes, but they had one piece of clothing, they have been wearing it since October the 7th, and they have no homes, they have no families. I still remember sitting with the orphan, the children, who precisely told me, we just dream of saying father, baba, or something like this.
ناجي وحيد ولا أم ولا أبا، بس لو معهم أبا أو أم يصير ترجع بس ماما وبابا.
Being born out of the womb of suffering makes you a real man, a real warrior. And that's what has happened with me, and that's what has happened with the people of Gaza. That's why they see education as an act of defiant and invincible resistance. Because for them, they need education to fight for their own homeland, and they need education to speak to the outside world. And that's one of the main reasons why I learned English, to address the Western world. And that's why the reason I'm talking here at the moment. Our education is an act of hope, resistance. That's why until now I'm talking to people in Gaza, students like my age, and they are going ahead with their education with literally no means to live. Under the bombs, under the starvation, under everything, they have their notebooks and they jot down everything they want to learn, because they have that insatiable desire to be warriors in their way. Because in Gaza, everyone is a resistance fighter, but everyone has their own way.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله، الله يعطيكم العافية جميعا. من قلب شمال قطاع غزة، مع التوصل إلى وقف إطلاق النار وانتهاء هذه الحرب، حرب الإبادة وحرب الهمجية، والبنوتة بدي أصورها. لابد من كلمة شكر. كلمة الشكر هذه لكل الأشخاص اللي وقفت مع القضية الفلسطينية طوال السنوات الفائتة، خصوصا في سنتي الحرب. كثير ناس كانت واقفة بقلب ورب، قاطعت، ساندت، ودعمت بالمظاهرات وبالاعتصامات وبالاحتجاجات وبكل طريقة بتقدر تدعم فيها. فلازم من قلب غزة نوجه لهم رسالة شكر ورسالة امتنان، والله يعطيكم ألف عافية. وانتم كان لكم دور أساسي في انتهاء هذه الحرب. ما حد يستقل من نفسه. لما احنا قلنا لكم انكم انتم حتكونوا بصمة في هذه الحرب، فعلا كنتوا بصمة. فرق كرة القدم اللي كان لها دور جدا كبير في إيصال الرسالة، أسطول الحرية، أسطول الصمود، كثير من الممثلين والمغنيين والمشاهير على مستوى الوطن العربي وعلى مستوى العالم. شكرا لكل شخص ساند ودعم القضية الفلسطينية بأي شكل. ورسالة جدا مهمة، صح الحرب انتهت، لكن ضلكم مع غزة، ابقوا مع غزة دائما، لأنه غزة محتاجة صوتكم، خصوصا في المرحلة القادمة. الحرب العسكرية انتهت، لكن في حروب كتير ستتكشف خلال الأيام القادمة. فضلكم موجودين مع غزة، وإحنا أصحاب هذه الأرض، إحنا إلنا الحق في الحياة على هذه الأرض. إن شاء الله حنضل موجودين على هذه الأرض، وحنعمرها وحنرجعها أحسن من قبل. تحياتي لكم جميعا من قلب شمال قطاع غزة، صالح جعفر.
The future that we're looking for will be decided by proper journalism. That's what Double Down in News and the independent media outlets across the globe are doing. In order to hear the voices like me and the suppressed voices that have been shuttered for a long time, you should join Double Down in News, because you will hear the untold stories. So join Double News on Patreon.